Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers out there pushing His word and sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping His word and sincerity and the truth. Okay, I just wanted to go into this lesson, going into shame culture, and how shame is going to be brought back to the earth in a major way. The feeling of shame and the consequences that come behind it. All of that is going to return to the earth in a major way. It started with these so-called white people, Esau, Edom. They are already getting a taste of it from the history that they long suppressed and tried to hide, coming out on them and these other nations as well, with the shame that they bear, but kind of not even focusing on them, but more so focusing on the Israelite woman, and in particular the Southern Kingdom, or the so-called black woman. Shame coming to them in a major way. And again, all Israelite women, women of all tribes had this certain, are affected by the curses and had this certain mentality and attitude about them. But the so-called black woman has it on a whole different level, whole different scale. They have no shame. And the Lord, He's about to change all of that. And so a part of that, not having shame, and a part of the Lord about to re-engineer the earth in a way that it's finna go back to how it's supposed to be, and bringing shame back in a major way, as well as the Lord making the man more precious than fine gold, the man of the elect. Shame is gonna be on a whole nother level, because a lot of these women are going to be ashamed of themselves and ashamed of their actions and ashamed of the mindset and how they behaved when things were good, when they had the opportunity to repent and get in line under the order of a man. So I'm gonna get the definition of shame. I'm gonna get the definition of shame culture, and I'm gonna get a scripture. And Lord will is edifying. So this is the definition of shame. It says a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. She was hot with shame is the example. So it says the painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. So it's letting you know that these people, or anybody that feels shame, they're conscious of their behavior. They're mindful. They know what they're doing is wrong, and they still, and in this case, they know what they did was wrong, and they have that painful feeling of humiliation behind it because it's unacceptable. Like I said, wrong or foolish behavior. And this is what the Lord says all about the nation of Israel, especially in today's time. Wrong, foolish, and stupid behavior, And going into some of the synonyms, like I said, humiliation, loss of face, which that's important because that's gonna come up later. Embarrassment, indignity, discomfort, guilt, remorse, But and the opposite of it, look at it: pride, indifference. Pride and indifference. That's a part of what brings on shame. Having that prideful mindset, and a lot of these women, the mass majority of these women are extremely prideful, which is why a great humbling is going to come to the earth, especially to the so-called black woman, in a major way, and it's going to bring upon that shame. So it says loss of respect or esteem, to dishonor, to disgrace, dishonor, discredit, degradation, disrepute. It says used to reprove someone for something of which they should be ashamed, a regrettable or unfortunate situation or action. and make someone feel ashamed. So yeah, that's what it is. To make someone feel ashamed or to put to shame. So let me get let me see. I think I'm gonna get the scripture now. And I see the 333. This is Micah 7:9. I'm gonna read it. So like it. I'm reading in the KJV and the AMP next. It says, I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him. Until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me, he will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. And in the AMP it says, I will bear the indignation and wrath of the Lord because I have sinned against him, until he pleads my cause and executes judgment for me. He will bring me out to the light, and I will behold his amazing righteousness and his remarkable deliverance. And that's the main reason why I went to get an AMP, because it said the remarkable deliverance. But like I said, we bear the indignation of Yahweh Ba'ashim Abashah because we acknowledge that we went off. We understand that we are the ones that did wrong in the sight of Yahweh Ba'ashim Abashah. So this punishment that he brought upon us was a righteous judgment. He had already told us, and we made an agreement with him that we would obey him, and we didn't. And he told us the consequences behind that. So we being of the hopeful elect, are bearing the shame of our actions, and like I said, because we sinned against him. But the Lord has reprogrammed our minds, renewed our minds, and we remember who we are. So now we're turning back into the way that we fell from, which is our true heritage. Verse 10, KJV. Then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy God? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now she shall be trodden down as the mire of the streets. And let me get the definition of shame in here, because I never got it. Let's see. 1 second. Okay, so that's Bawashah. Bawashah. If I'm not mistaken. Bawashah in the Hebrew. Shame. Yeah, here it is right here. Bawashah. It says to put to shame, to be ashamed, to be disconcerted, disconcerted, be disappointed, to feel shame, to act shamefully. It says to pale, an example by implication, to be ashamed, also to be disappointed or delayed, to bring cause put to with a shamed. Confounded, confusion. Right, to be put to confounded confusion. So like it's going into, here goes some good ones. It says to fail in hope and expectation, which is joined with shame and blushing. It is applied to the mind in whatever way troubled, disturbed, confused. And we living in Babylon the Great. Babylon is means confusion. Babal means confusion. Right, so, and it says in 3, intransitive, to do shameful things, to act shamefully, shameful, wicked. Right, it is opposed to, it's a different word, for wickedness also comprehends folly, as elsewhere words implying folly are applied to wickedness. So, going back, make sure, okay, yeah, okay. So going back to it, like I said, then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her. And one thing that, like the elders and apostles have been saying for years, and brothers have been saying for years, is that, especially the so-called black woman, because she's really the main one. All the tribes of women that's completely out of order, and act extremely, extremely shameful to the point that nobody on the earth wants them, and they do not have no type of clue on how to be with a man or how to get back in order. They don't even understand order. They don't want to be in order, and like it said, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy God? Not every woman or not everybody has to say this with their mouth, say these words directly. They don't have to say it out of their mouth. They can say it by their actions, by the way they think, and in some cases they might even say it in their mind. But in a way, it's going to show that they don't believe and trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. They don't abide by his standards, And like I said, the so-called black woman is the one that's completely out of order, and she has no shame for her actions. And that's why a lot of women, a lot of Israelite women are getting put to death, And that's all from the judgments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And all I can think about is that one woman, young woman that was on top of an SUV twerking, and the driver pulled off, and she fell off and got ran over by a fire truck and died with absolutely no shame. And everybody that knew her, nobody on earth can justify her actions. Nobody can justify it. Nobody can say what she was doing. She was only trying to do this. Or she was only trying to have fun. She was only trying to do this or do that. Well, now look at her. Look at the results of it. She could have been at home, or at least heading home, had a husband in order, and she'd still been here. And if only she was in order, she would still be on earth, in her right mind, doing the things that please Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and her man. But instead, she wanted to do foolish and shameful things, and that caused her to lose her life. And now, the last moments that everybody know about her was her twerking on top of a SUV, and she got ran over by a fire truck. And that's a horrible way. That's not only just a horrible way to go out, but that's horrible for people to talk about. People that know her, even people that don't know her. I don't know her, and I'm talking about her right now. But people that do know her and they talk about her, especially people that knew her personally and probably was around her, grew up with her, went to school with her, they talk about her. They ain't gonna talk about her in positive ways. They're gonna talk about her in negative ways. Call her all types of things for doing something so foolish. And it cost her life. And best believe, if she was able to come back to the earth, if the Lord allowed her to return into her body to the earth, she would more than likely apologize to everybody, for her actions and feel extremely, extremely shameful, for what she did and what she was doing. But like it said, then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy God? My eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets. And this haven't even came into full effect yet, Just wait until Jacob's trouble start to amplify. And then all these women, especially on social media, these models, or these women are just regular women, post their bodies, post their daily life, things that they do, what they thinking, how they feeling, what's on their mind, just putting all types of stuff on social media, even if they ain't putting content like their pictures, comments under the comment section, whatever the case may be. And even if they ain't on social media, just things that they doing that's outside of the will or outside of the order of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Then when that time of Jacob's trouble comes, they're going to be completely ashamed of their behavior. And they're going to see that none of it mattered. It never made them anybody. Because that's what they think too. They think that trying to be the most popular person on social media makes them someone. But all it is just going to make them more ashamed when that time of Jacob's trouble really hit. So I'm going to get this in other translations, but before I do that, I want to get shame culture, the definition of shame culture. So this is the AI view of shame culture. It says a shame culture is a societal framework where social behavior is primarily regulated by the fear of public shame and social disapproval rather than internalized guilt or fear of punishment. And this is all a part of our culture as well, shame culture. Because like it said back in the shame definition, it said loss of face. And that face goes into basically your status, your family and their status. Because you didn't want to bring shame to your family. Like I said, it was fear of public shame, meaning and social disapproval, meaning everyone around you and your society and the society you in was going to treat you a certain way, not just you feeling that way. It says in these cultures, individuals strive to maintain a positive public image and avoid actions that could lead to a public humiliation or ostracization. Shame culture are often associated with collectivist societies where the community's reputation is paramount, it's highly regarded. It's sought first and foremost. Let me get a couple scriptures. Let's see. I know what I'm looking for, but I can't remember exactly how it's worded. I know I was going to do that. Okay, let's see. Okay, we can get that. It's that's the spirit. 'Cause I had just listened to a brother go into Numbers chapter 12 about Miriam and Aaron. What verse was it? Let's see. Matter of fact, this is not what I wanted. Okay, we can get these. This is Sirach 26 starting at verse 10. It says, "If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty." Shameless. We just got the definition of shame. And if your daughter is not, if she has no fear of that mentality or of basically modern day women. They are shameless. Modern day women are shameless. They don't even care to cover themselves up. You know, and I had heard I seen a quote, not a quote, I'm sorry. It was somebody under the comment section that it was this YouTube short I was watching, and basically it was this woman. You know, it was just a typical skit. A man, you know, Jake, he go up to a woman. She has see-through clothes on. She's not even just half naked. She got see-through clothes on. You can literally see everything she got on under there. No bra on either. And he give her a rose, tie a shoe, walk off, tell her to keep it, and he had a note on there saying that she was very beautiful. And when I went to the comment section, because I was just curious to know what other people said, somebody had left the comments that said they said that their grandmother or grandfather, but I think he said it was his grandmother. It said uncovered food will attract nothing but flies. It was something to that nature. Uncovered food would attract nothing but flies. And the uncovered food was referring to the woman, and the flies was referring to the low level men that chase after them, or that the low level men that will give them a compliment as if they, those women are doing something right, But she was shameless. And like I said, she didn't even have no bra on. So you literally see her breasts in her see-through clothes. She doesn't have shame enough to even cover up her own body. Something that was only supposed to be seen by her husband, which she's not married, walking around like that. So like I said, if thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. And that's the problem with these women. And like I said, these same women are going to be ashamed of their behavior, that because she has no shame. And that she knows something is, it's not right about that, because when somebody does something like that, they look around, they'll look around at people, to see people reaction, see how people would take it. And this society in Babylon the Great in America is not shame culture. It's not viewed in a way that make people ashamed of their behavior and make them actually value their reputation in a high standard. So I can't find the scripture I was looking for. That was a good one though. Let me see. I can't remember how it's worded. I know which one I know what I can get. I can't remember. It's okay. It's okay. I'll brought this out, come back to me, because I can't remember exactly how it's worded. So let's go back to the shame culture. So like I said, this is some key characteristics of shame cultures. It says emphasis on public perception. Individuals are highly sensitive. Matter of fact, let me see. I think it's coming back to me. Yeah. Gun, there it is. Gun, call out Yahweh Shem Shah. Because I was forgetting how it was worded. And it just came back to me. All right, this is Deuteronomy 22. Starting at verse 13, I'm going to read all this in the AMP. If any man takes a wife and goes into her, and then scorns and hates her, and charges her without cause with shameful behavior. Shameful behavior. The shameful behavior is adultery. That's what it's going into. It says shameful behavior and publicly defames her. I'm sorry. And like I said, brings upon her an evil name. Cause like again, like we're going into shame culture, your name was everything. Your name is everything. Your family, your social status, all of that is very important. And all of that is coming back to the earth, especially amongst the Israelites. You know, it's all coming back to the earth. Shame culture is going to be brought back. And shame in general is going to be brought back in a major way. So it says, I'm going to read 14 again. It charges her without cause with shameful behavior and publicly defames her and says, I took this woman, but when I approached her, I did not find in her evidence of virginity. And evidence of virginity meaning when a man marries a woman, the consecration of a marriage is sex. Sex is marriage. That's according to the Bible. It's not how we do it over here in America. America didn't even exist during this time when this was written. So sex is actually marriage, and when a man marries a woman, she's supposed her hymen is supposed to break. That's the bleeding. You know, that's how you know that she is a virgin. Verse 15. Then the young woman's father and her mother shall get and bring out the evidence of her virginity to the elders of the city at the gate where court is held. So the evidence that it's talking about is the sheets, the bed sheets, because when a man gives his daughter away into marriage, they basically set it up. You know, they set up the sheets, they set up the the area for them to consecrate the marriage. You know, to do their business or have sex, and then the parents keep the sheets. You know, because that's always proof that when they married this daughter off, it was she was a virgin. You know, and that was extremely important and extremely valued. Virginity not only was, it still is, and now it's something extremely, extremely rare over here in Babylon the Great. That is, virginity is something extremely, extremely rare. You're almost probably not going to find a woman that's a virgin. You know, not a woman. I'm gonna just keep it like that because they doing it now way earlier, middle to elementary school. It's extremely extreme. Childhood is almost extinct for a lot of children. True childhood. So now verse 16, the father of the young woman shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as a wife, but he hates her and has turned against her. And behold, he has made baseless charges against her, saying, I did not find in your daughter the evidence of her virginity, but this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity, and they shall spread out the garment before the elders of the city. And see an example, a blood-stained bed sheet or item of clothing from the wedding night. The wedding night going into sex, the marriage. That's when it's consecrated. And the parents always keep that. Verse 18, then the elders of that city, shall take the man and reprimand him. And to rebuke, matter of fact, because they ain't going to get it over there. It says chastise him, to discipline him, to admonish, to discipline, to instruct him, to correct him, to chasten, to teach him a lesson, to punish him. You know, to instruct, to bind, to chasten, to chastise, correct, instruct, punish. You know, so they teach him a lesson. Verse 19, and they shall find him 100 shekels of silver and give it to the father of the young woman, because he publicly defamed a virgin of Israel, which was extremely wicked too. That was a wicked thing to do. Because a woman, if she was a virgin and in her order, and you accuse her of adultery, that's a life. If she was accused of adultery, and just say that the parents couldn't prove it, she would get put to death. Especially even if she was, a virgin. If she was a virgin, you could literally get that woman put to death for that. So that was an extreme offense. And like I said, publicly defamed brought an evil name upon. So now, before I continue on, let's go back to shame culture. Like I said, individuals are highly sensitive to how their actions are viewed by others and prioritize maintaining a positive public image. But like I said in the scriptures, if this man accused this woman of sinning, of being an adulterer, that brings shame not only on her, but on the whole family. The whole family is going to be looked at. And if their father had other daughters, it's going to be even more harder for his daughters, especially if they're younger, or daughters that haven't been married off. It's going to be harder for them to get married because now they have a stigma to their name. And it used to be like that, even before my time. I'd say maybe the 80s on back, certain families, that they had something going on, people would tell you to watch out for them people, or if they wasn't trustworthy, they'd tell you watch out for them people. People would talk about you. It says social conformity. There's a strong pressure to conform to group norms and expectations to avoid shame. Being in a civilization, this is social conformity, because the laws, statutes, and commandments is what makes us civilized. See, Esau, just using the northern kingdom, Gad, he tried to say he came over here and civilized America, civilized the northern kingdom, when they was already civilized. They already had civilizations. They already had cities built and laws they were living by. And although we did fall, we did go off, at least they were still closer to keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua than they are now. And that's all through Esau Edom's influence. But like I said, there was a strong pressure to conform to group norms or the civilization, the laws, statutes, and commandments, and expectations to avoid shame. That's the same thing with us, because we don't want to be found not keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments, and doing something extremely, extremely wicked to bring shame upon us and our household. And even amongst the Israelites, even amongst us that know we are Israelites, shame culture exists. Because I'm just thinking about the ex-leader of Sakari. And now him, that stigma is sticking with him. That shame is sticking with him and his family. I don't know, his family per se, if he, mothers, wife, children. I don't know anything about that. It is honestly, not my business. But if they are in this truth, and people, or even if they're not, people know them, or know of them, that's a shame unto them, because they are associated with him. It says collective identity. Shame culture often prioritizes the group's reputation over individual desires or ambitions, right? So in a shame culture, there would be a family, or in this sense, it would be a family. The family is identified with that person. So you don't only represent yourself, you represent your family as well. You just think about it like this. If you have someone that an older sibling, a younger sibling, or if you have children like this, you have one child, an older child, they go off, and just say you got two boys. The older boy, he played basketball, and he's real good, and he made a name for himself and a reputation in high school, and then he graduates and leaves, and the year after he leaves, the younger sibling comes, so everybody's still familiar with the family. They know that that's the younger brother. Now he got expectations to live up to, He got something that he got to live up to, because not only is he doing it for himself, He doing it for his family, you know. Not only just to bring recognition and something to live up to just for himself, but for his family. It says external sanctions. Social control is maintained through public shaming, criticism, and the threat of social exclusion. And that's all throughout the Bible. Now I'm gonna go back to that. Matter of fact, since I read that, let me finish this in Deuteronomy first. It's Deuteronomy 22, going to verse 18 again. AMP, that then the elders of that city shall take the man and reprime him, and they shall find him 100 shekels of silver and give it to the father of the young woman, because he publicly defamed a virgin of Israel, and she shall remain his wife. He is not allowed to divorce her as long as he lives. But if this charge is true, that the evidence of virginity was not found in the young woman, then they shall bring her out to the doorway of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death, because she has committed a deliberate sin in Israel by playing the prostitute in her father's house. So you shall remove the evil from among you. Right. So like it said, if she commit adultery, they supposed to bring her, they supposed to drag her out. They ain't finna just carry her, all gently and everything. No, they like I said, they finna put her to death. They finna do everything shamefully. That's a shame. She gonna get drugged to her father's house, and ain't nothing he can do about it. He gonna see his daughter get stoned to death for playing the prostitute, for being a whore, for adultery. And you can see clearly that shame is not in America. It's not in Babylon the Great, and especially not in black culture. Shame culture is not here. There's no shame for that. And I'm gonna keep going, because it's not only just for the woman, even though the point of the topic being shame culture is coming back, especially for the woman, but even for the man as well. This is verse 22. If a man is intimate, found lying, and so they're out, throughout, basically having sex with a woman who is another man's wife, adultery, they shall both be put to death, the man who lay with the woman and the woman. So you shall remove the evil from Israel. Right, now it says, if the man and a woman that is married, and it ain't I didn't know, I didn't know. It wasn't that in that ancient time, especially, because you got a lot of women now, they will lie about it, and it's situations, it's all types of situations in the Bible where the Lord covers these things, but in today's time, these women, they will lie that they're not even married or they don't have a man, but you still got to be careful. But it says, if a young woman who is a virgin is engaged, legally betrothed to a man, and another man finds her in the city and is intimate with her, then you shall bring them both out to the gate of the city and stone them to death. The young woman, because she did not cry out for help, though she was in the city, and the man, because he violated his neighbor's promised wife. So you shall remove the evil from among you. However, if the man finds the girl who is legally engaged, legally betrothed in the open field, and seizes her and is intimate with her by force, aka grape, then only the man who lies with her shall be put to death. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. She has committed no sin worthy of death, for this is the same as when a man attacks his neighbor and murders him. Right. So like it said, I'm gonna keep going. When he found her in the open field, the engaged girl may have cried out for help, but there was no one to hear and save her. Right. I'm gonna keep going. If a man finds a girl who is a virgin, who is not engaged, and seizes her and is intimate with her, and they are discovered, then the man who is intimate with her shall give 50 shekels of silver to the girl's father, and she shall become his wife, because he has violated her. He can never divorce her. Like I said, she shall violate her. It says a man shall not take his father's former wife, so that he will not expose his father's wife. So, but going back to 29, it said he has violated her. Like, that was out of order. That was completely out of order, and that was someone else's property. And yes, children belong to their parents, so that's technically their property. Not property as in like a building or anything, but that's under their care. That's under their that they belong unto them. Anything that belongs unto you is your property. So, or your possession. But like I said, he's violated it. All of that brings on shame as well, because you think about it. That man probably had an idea that father probably had the mindset to marry his daughter off to someone, he probably thinking in his mind who he wanted to marry his daughter off into. And then here you come rolling up on his daughter and taking her for yourself, doing it completely out of order. And now he has to give her, well, he don't have to, but like I said, she has to, she can be his, if the father so chooses to give her unto you, he still got to pay the father though. Like, that's completely out of order. All that brings about shame. And us Israelites, we already know how Jake is. Jake gonna talk. The word gonna get around. You heard about what he did. What he did to her daughter. That's we know how we are. But all of this is a part of shame culture. So going back. Oh yeah. So it says social control is maintained through public shaming, criticism, and the threat of social exclusion. Now I'm gonna go back to get what happened with Miriam. I forgot. Oh, I think this is yeah, this is it. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna jump around, but I'm gonna start at verse 1 in the AMP. Now Miriam and Aaron spoke against says Miriam is presumed to be the leader of the attack on Moses' authority because she is mentioned before Aaron and because of the severity of her punishment. Which, in general, she was out of place, Which I'm gonna read the scripture first. It says, "Now Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married, but he had married a Cushite woman, and her speaking out that was that was one of the main reasons why she got punished, because a woman she's not on the same level as a man, and a woman is not to have authority over a man." And her coming up against Moses was completely out of order. And the Lord, Yahweh Shema Mashah, did not like that. And then verse 2, it said, "And they said, has the Lord really spoken only to Moses? Has he not spoken also through us?" And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very humble, gentle, kind, devoid of self-righteousness, more than any man who was on the face of the earth. Right? It says, "Suddenly the Lord said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, come out, you three, to the tent of meeting, tabernacle." And the three of them came out. And the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud, which is the chariot, and stood at the doorway of the tabernacle. And he called Aaron and Miriam, and they came forward. And he said, "Hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to him in a vision, and I will speak to him in a dream. But it is not so with my servant Moses. He is entrusted and faithful in all my house. With him I speak mouth to mouth directly, clearly and openly, and not in riddles. And he beholds the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Miriam and Aaron, and he departed. But when the cloud had withdrawn from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous, as white as snow. And Aaron turned and looked at Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Right, so her skin changed. She looked albino. She no longer had that pigmentation, that dark skin. And that brought about shame, because you just think about it. Amongst all the Israelites, she was the only Israelite that resembled the Edomite. leopardess. She was the only one in the whole nation of Israel that resembled an Edomite, and she had to be separated. Let's keep going. It says, then Aaron said to Moses, "Oh my Lord, I plead with you, do not account this sin to us, in which we have acted foolishly, and in which we have sinned." See, that was shame. Aaron saw what the Lord did unto Miriam, and that fear came upon him real quick. That fear was on him already when the Lord called out to him, and when the Lord checked him. But it came even more when he saw what the Lord did to Miriam. And that shame of what he had said and spoke against Moses came up with both of them. But this was Aaron speaking. But Miriam was the one that actually got the punishment. Got the, she the one that got punished like that. Verse 12. Oh, do not let her be like one dead, already half decomposed, when he comes from his mother's womb, going into her skin condition. And what Yahweh Shai did unto her. Aaron was like, he was pleading for his sister. So Moses and Moses, he cared for his sister too. This was his family. So it says, so Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, "Hear her pleas, oh God, I plead with you." But the Lord said to Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, which that was the ultimate form of disrespect. That was one of the ultimate forms of disrespect. I'm trying to get this footnote. Rebuked her publicly. Would she not bear her shame for 7 days? Let her be shut up outside the camp for 7 days, and afterwards she may return. So Miriam was shut up outside the camp for 7 days, and the people did not move on until Miriam was brought in again and declared ceremonially clean from her leprosy. Afterward, the people moved out on from Hazeroth and camped in the wilderness of Paran. And I guarantee you, the whole nation of Israel was talking about it because, Israelites like, how come we not leaving? What's going on? And like, I heard Moses' sister, her skin changed. She said this and that against Moses, and the Lord, he punished her. He took her pigmentation away. And now she outside the camp at such and such, and we got to wait until she able to come back in before we move. The nation, how our people are. And it was a shame unto her because you just imagine like you do something wrong and you the one that got to be outside, ousted out. You feel that humiliation behind it, and then when you come back in, you feel it even more. It's like when you outside, you feel humiliated, but you're not around people that can, because even people looking at you is like a form of humiliation because it's like, you the one that's in the wrong and they just staring at you. You feel that guilt, you feel that shame. So when you get back around them, it's even worse, it's intensified. And that's what she felt too. So going back to it, like I said, collective identity, external sanctions. Social control is maintained through public shaming, criticism, and the threat of social exclusion. I guarantee you a lot of people weren't trying to speak against Moses after that. That's what the Lord checked them for. You feel bold enough to speak against my servant and who I chose? If I wanted to deal with somebody else, I'm gonna deal with them and it's gonna be known in visions. But I deal with Moses face to face. I tell him everything plainly. You got a problem with that? Why weren't you afraid to speak against me? And then the Lord, he left. And Lord cold. So it says avoidance of public embarrassment. Individuals in shame cultures are highly motivated to avoid situations that could lead to public humiliation or embarrassment. And like I said, when people heard about what happened with Miriam, they thought twice about speaking against Moses. But at the same time, our people, they extremely hard-headed and stiff-necked. They eventually did, speak against him. The Lord, every time the Lord, he got mad behind that. It says honor and shame as motivators. Actions are often judged based on whether they bring honor or shame to the individual and their community. Some studies suggest that some East Asian and Middle Eastern cultures are heavily influenced by shame and honor dynamics. And guess what? That's the side of the world we came from. And all of that goes back into us anyway, because we are a nation of kings and priests. And we have the one true living God. A lot of their culture and things that influence their cultures come from us, come from the Israelites. That's why I said East Asian and Middle Eastern cultures. Like I said, we from the eastern side of the world. Now I'm gonna go down. There was one more thing I wanted to get. Okay, it says, what is Shame culture in Japan? It says Japanese culture is often described as a shame culture where social harmony and maintaining face are paramount. So here go that face again. This emphasis on external perceptions and avoiding actions that could bring shame or embarrassment influences various aspects of Japanese life, including social interactions, work, and personal behavior. And you even see that on some shows and movies where certain families don't want to be dishonored or be a dishonorable family by the actions of their children or the actions of the fathers or whatever the case may be. Or they always talk about they want to bring honor to their family, by completing some type of goal or task. Culture sources say that the concept of face, which is similar to but distinct from Western notions of reputation, plays a central role in this dynamic. Like I said, it's a distinct form, or it's distinct from Western notions of reputation, because reputation and face is two different things. Let's see. Sensitivity to social perceptions. Individuals are highly attuned to how their actions might be perceived by others and strive to avoid actions that could bring shame or embarrassment. This can result in reluctance to stand out, express dissecting opinions, or admit mistakes. This is completely contrast to what people learn over here in Babylon the Great in America. Because in America or in Western culture, their reputation they will literally get on social media and do shameful things on social media just for clout, just for reputation, just to be popular, versus the Eastern white mindset where they would do honorable things to be, popular or respected. Over here in the West, it's completely different. Completely, you'll see women get on social media and twerk somewhere just for clout, just for reputation, or do some type of comedy skit that can be embarrassing, but because people laugh at it, they get clout, they get reputation, they get fame, and then they become popular. But this is completely different in other cultures, and that's why these cultures shame America. This is why they shame them. That's why they laugh at them. Because all of this is shameful behavior. And that's why the Lord is ultimately going to destroy this place completely. Now, the concept of face, Mitsu, refers to the public image and social standing of an individual or group. Preserving face is crucial, and actions that could cause a loss of face, public failure, breaking social rules are avoided. Shame is a motivator. Shame rather than guilt is often used as primary mechanism for social control and discipline. Children are often taught to be mindful of how their actions might reflect on their family and community, and to avoid behaviors that could cause shame. Going back to that Deuteronomy 22 we just read, because if a woman commits adultery, or if a woman plays the harlot, like I said, in her father's house, she's going to be taken out and stoned in front of her father. And that's not something that was common. So when it happened, it's shocking news, in the ancient world. It's shocking news. That wasn't something that was just common like that, because our people had a sense, we understood shame culture. That type of behavior was unacceptable in our nation, contrary to what it is now, So I'm gonna go back to Micah 7:10. So like I said, then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy God? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets. So shame, the Lord is going to bring shame and shame culture back to the earth in a major, major way. And when Jacob's trouble hit, and all these, like they passing the big beautiful bill that's taking away their health care and the food, basically taking away a lot of government assistance, especially for the so-called black woman, that shame is really, really gonna hit her then, But Israelite women in general, but especially the so-called black woman, that shame is gonna hit them on a level far beyond anything we ever seen. And they're gonna be extremely, extremely humbled. And I'm gonna get Isaiah 4:1 in the AMP. It says, and in that day, 7 women would take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread. We will eat our own food and wear and provide our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our shame of being unmarried. Right? Take away their shame. Because it's another thing. It's a shame for a woman. And a lot of these women now are starting to see that when they hit that certain age, and a lot of them really, when they start hitting 30, or when they get to them 30s, they start thinking it's getting too late for them to get themselves established with a family, start having children, this, that, and the third. But especially beyond 30s, they start to feel like they was unfulfilled or like they failed in life. And like it's a shame because and especially when they realize they're not married and they don't think that they're gonna get married. It's a woman that I work with. And maybe like 3 weeks ago, maybe a month. Well, no, it was about 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. She was talking to my other coworker, and I heard her say something about marriage. And I heard her say she probably not even gonna get married. She probably late 30s, early 40s, maybe somewhere in that range. But she said she probably not even gonna get married. And honestly, me, her body wise, she's not attractive or anything. She's not even trying to be, but attitude, everything, just like she modern day black woman, modern day so-called black woman. And she's absolutely right about not getting married. Like, you could just see it. You can just tell. Nobody wants her. But it's a shame unto a woman. And she said it shamefully. She didn't say it proudly or nothing. That's really a shame unto women to go through their lives growing up and having that expectation of one day being married and one day having children and not having it. Some women, they're not married, but they have children. And then some women, they don't have neither, But it's really a shame unto them. They feel that. So like you say right here, it's going to be women that just want to be associated with you, with the men of the elect. That's why I said they should take hold of one man, that man being the man of the elect. That man is going to have a status far beyond what this earth has ever seen, because Yahweh Shem Abishai is going to be with him. Yahweh Shem Abishai is going to give that to him, and women going to want to be associated with that. But not every woman is going to be a part of that. Like I said, Micah 7:10. Then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her. That shame is going to come on these women regardless, But only the women of the elect that's turning back to Yahweh Shem Abishai, they going to be saved. So I think I got the point. I think I covered everything I pretty much wanted to go into. And Lord will, this was an edifying lesson. So I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that were well. Peace, love, and salutation to all the brothers out there pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. Until next time, shalom.